Can I tell you something? Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you're just tired of starting over. And I don't mean starting over with work. I mean life. You finally get yourself together and something happens. You finally trust somebody and they disappoint you. You finally start saving and something comes up. You finally feel like you're getting better, and then one morning you wake up and you're right back in your feelings again. And after doing that so many times, you eventually get tired of trying. Not because you don't care, you just don't want to get your hopes up again. I think people misunderstand that. They look at you and say, you're not trying hard enough. You're wasting your potentials. Why aren't you doing something with your life? And sometimes you don't even know how to explain it. Because how do you explain being exhausted from things that nobody can see? How do you explain that you're tired of rebuilding the same part of yourself? How do you explain that sometimes you don't need motivation? You just need life to stop happening to you for 5 minutes. And maybe you've become very good at pretending. You know how to answer, how are you? Fine. You say it so naturally now. You don't even have to think about it. Fine, fine, fine. Meanwhile, there are things you haven't told anybody. There are disappointments you've never really talked about. There are things you thought you've had by now. A certain kind of relationship, a certain amount of money, a certain career, a certain home, maybe children, maybe a business, maybe just peace, and you're looking around thinking, how did everybody move forward except me? And that's a painful question, because nobody prepares you for the possibility that your life won't look the way you imagined it would. When you were younger, you think life is going to happen in a straight line. You grow up, you figure yourself out, you meet the right people, you get the right job, you make money, you build a home, everything starts making sense. But then you actually grow up and realize life is not a straight line at all. Sometimes you take 3 steps forward and life throws you somewhere you didn't plan to go. And suddenly you're sitting there at an age you thought you'd have everything figured out, wondering what happened. I think that's where people become really hard on themselves. You start looking at old version of yourself and say, I should have known better. I should have left earlier. I shouldn't have trusted them. I shouldn't have wasted those years. I should have started sooner. I should have been more careful. I should have. I hate how many times we use those words against ourselves. I should have. Because yes, maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you really did make the wrong decisions. Maybe you ignored something you shouldn't have, but you cannot go back and give your younger self the knowledge you have today. You just can't. And I think sometimes you need to stop putting today's understanding on yesterday's version of you. She didn't know what you know now. She was trying, maybe badly sometimes, maybe imperfectly, but she was trying. And maybe she deserved a little compassion too. There's another thing nobody talks about. Sometimes you don't miss a person, you miss who you were when they were with them. Sometimes you don't miss the old job, you miss who you thought you were going to become because of it. Sometimes you don't miss the old life, you miss the version of yourself that still believed everything was going to work out exactly as planned. And grieving that is real, because sometimes nothing terrible happened, just life changed and you weren't ready for it. Maybe that's where you are right now. Not necessarily broken, not necessarily depressed, not necessarily falling apart, just disappointed. And disappointment can be very quiet. You can still function while you're disappointed. You can still laugh, you can still go out, you can still post pictures, you can still make plans, but somewhere inside you, you're mourning the life you thought you'd have by now. And if that's you, I don't think you need somebody shouting at you to work harder. I think you need somebody to sit beside you and say, yeah, I know. That isn't what you expected, and that's okay. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt, but please don't let disappointment convince you that your life is over because something didn't happen when you wanted it to. doesn't mean nothing good can happen anymore. You are still allowed to be surprised by life. You are still allowed to meet people who treat you differently. You are still allowed to discover something you're good at. You are still allowed to change your mind. You are still allowed to start something at your age you thought you were too old to start. You're allowed to become somebody you don't even know you could become. And you're allowed to say, actually, I don't want the life I used to want anymore. That's okay too. Sometimes growing up means realizing that the dream you were chasing was never really yours. Maybe you wanted it because everybody around you wanted it. Maybe you wanted it because you thought it would finally prove something. Maybe you thought if you achieved it, you would finally feel enough. And then you get older and realize, I don't even want that anymore. That's not failure, that's growth. And if you're somebody who feels like you've wasted time, I want you to hear this carefully. You haven't wasted every year that didn't produce something. You can show people. Some years were for learning, some were for surviving, some were for losing people, some were for figuring out what you don't want, and some were just hard. And not every year of your life needs to look impressive. You don't have to turn every painful experience into a success story. Sometimes something was simply painful and you survived it. That's enough. You don't have to make it inspirational for it to have mattered. And maybe this is the part I really want you to take with you. You don't need to rush into the next version of yourself or of your life just because you're uncomfortable with the current one. You can slow down, you can breathe, you can take that time, you can figure things out, you can have a quiet session, you can be uncertain, you can say, I didn't know yet. These 3 words have saved me from so much unnecessary pressure. I don't know yet. Not I'm a failure, not I'm behind, not it's never going to happen, just I don't know yet. That's a completely different sentence because it leaves room for life to surprise you. And I don't know what your relationship with God looks like right now. Maybe it's strong, maybe it's complicated, maybe you're angry, maybe you've been praying, maybe you haven't prayed in months, maybe you don't even know what to say anymore. But there is one thing I hope you remember. You don't have to perform your way through life. You don't have to pretend to have everything together. You can be honest with God, even with yourself, especially with yourself, because sometimes the first step toward peace isn't fixing everything. It's finally admitting, okay, this is where I am, not where you wish you were, not where everybody thinks you should be, not where you thought you would be in 5 years ago, just where you are. And from there, you can begin again. Not dramatically, not overnight. Maybe tomorrow you simply wake up and try again. Maybe you make the phone call. Maybe you apply the job. Maybe you go outside. Maybe you clean your room. Maybe you finally tell somebody you're not okay. Maybe you forgive yourself for something you've been carrying. Maybe you pray again. Maybe you don't know what the next step is. That's okay. You don't need the entire staircase. Sometimes you just need the next step. So, if you've been feeling like you've fallen behind, I hope you stop measuring your life against somebody else's timeline. You don't know what your life is becoming yet. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what you're going to learn. You don't know what you're going to build. You don't know what version of yourself is still waiting to come alive. And honestly, neither do I. But maybe that's the beautiful part. There are still things you haven't seen. There are still conversations you haven't had. There are still places you haven't been. There are still mornings you haven't woken up to. There are still reasons to stay curious about your own life. So please, don't decide the ending while you're still in the middle. If all you've done lately is survive, I'm proud of you. And if tomorrow is another ordinary day, that's okay too. You don't have to make your life extraordinary every single day. Sometimes you just need to be there. Take a breath, drink some water, eat something, get some sleep, and let tomorrow come when it comes. You don't have to chase it tonight. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're just still becoming, and that's okay. Take your time. I'll see you on our next conversation.